Imagine you are hit so hard you can't breathe. There's another hit to your right side, and you fall to the ground in pain. You are terrified, and you try to crawl backwards to get away from this tyrant. Even though you know that you will truly never be able to escape him, the worst part is that the demon used to love you. So now you feel like it's your fault for his cruel behavior. You're terrified to stay with him because he could lash out at you at any moment. But you're also petrified to leave. This awful scenario happened all around the world, all around the country, and right in our own backyards. As far as the records go, it is known that women have not been treated as equal to men, which is a problem in and of itself. But then one has to consider the violence and abuse that women have endured throughout the entire history of the world. Unfortunately, even though women's rights have become expanded and altered for the better, 1 in 3 women still experience abuse and violence in many different ways. It is truly inexplicable that something so criminal and horrendous could happen in such an advanced society. Violence against women and girls is a global concern, affecting women of all ages, backgrounds, and socioeconomic statuses. In many cases, violence against women and girls go unreported due to fear or lack of trust and confidence in the legal system. This issue is prevalent, but also remains private because the victims are afraid to share, due to retaliation, which can prevent them from escaping their situation. In many countries, legal issues prevent abusers from being punished, failing to discourage them from partaking in violence. And globally, cultural norms condone and even mandate violence against women, leaving it deeply rooted in societies. Its harmful effects on individuals and communities call for urgent action to address this critical societal issue. Humanity overlooks domestic violence, despite its status as profound global concern. Over this video, we will be addressing the question, how does mental and physical abuse affect the female victim? This massive issue is a part of a vicious cycle, but there are things both you and I can do to help.
Throughout this project, we have done a lot of research on this topic. We use the cycle of Praxis to take a deeper dive into this injustice. We are aware that this problem can affect anyone at any time. We explored lots of ways women could potentially be abused, and a lot of the facts and stories we found are very unsettling. We found that this injustice affects at least 161 countries worldwide out of 195 countries. Not only is abuse towards women affecting well over half of the countries in the world, but about 1 in 3 women have experienced sexual and/or physical violence in their lifetime. The effects of these actions on women range from isolation to severe trauma, impacting their social lives, which includes work and education. Through the Praxis cycle, we found that this injustice is a cycle because the issue can continue to affect their children. Even if the mother has gotten out of the toxic relationship, it can take weeks, months, or even years for her to get over what she has been through, and her children witness that struggle every single day. They grow up believing that is what a healthy relationship looks like because they don't know any different. Another one of the biggest ongoing issues of violence against women is the damaging mental health effects. There are so many problems these women can acquire, but according to statusofwomen.org, anxiety and depression are both common results of abuse. There are also factors that most people don't even know about. For example, did you know that natural disasters and climate change can come into play? After Hurricane Katrina in 2005, rape against women in trailer parks rose 53.6 times in Mississippi. In Ethiopia, South Africa, there was an increase in girls being sold into marriage at a very young age in exchange for livestock to help families and society after a series of long droughts. In Naples, South Asia, trafficking increased from 3,000 to 5,000 in 1990 to 12,000 to 20,000 per year after an earthquake in 2005. But there is hope that this injustice will get better because the power of the Catholic faith can fix any problem.
Within the sacred walls of the Church, a hidden reality persists: violence against women. Despite its role as a beacon of faith, the Church shelters a darker truth, one of abuse, suppression, and silence. We are exposing this reality, giving voice to survivors, and challenging the structure that perpetuates their suffering. The Church will stand as a sanctuary of healing and justice for all. Ephesians 5:25 describes, "Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the Church and gave himself up for her." Women deserve to be loved and respected. They don't deserve to be abused by a man. For that to happen, everybody needs to live by one of the most common themes of Catholic social teachings, rights and responsibilities. In this situation, every person on this earth has a right and responsibility to try their best to prevent violence against women. Psalm 11:5 says, "The Lord tests the righteous, but his soul hates the wicked and the one who loves violence." This Bible verse shows that God only wants our souls to be filled with love and not hatred. Obviously, violence is not a form of love, therefore he despises it. The people who treat others with wicked intentions and how they treat people with hatred are hateful and wicked themselves. The Catholic social teaching on domestic violence emphasizes the care for God's creation and life and dignity of the human person. In relationships in early times, men were the ones to work and the women were the ones to stay home and take care of the children outside. This would put a societal norm on men being a higher standard than women and disobeys the Catholic Church's view on human dignity. In the Catholic Church, everybody is made in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, everyone, regardless of race or gender, is equal and is to be treated equally. Genesis 1:26-27 states, "So God created mankind in his image. In the image of God he created them, male and female. He created them." God created males and females in his own image, meaning they are all the same and should be treated the same. People might have different interests or look different, but we are all made under God, and that's what makes humans the same. Ending domestic violence would create a better and safer world. At Gilmore Academy, students are educated on charisms, with a focus on the cross and hospitality. The charism of the cross views hardship and opportunity for growth. Violence against women corresponds to this charism by developing new relationships and terminating toxic ones. Hospitality challenges gender-specific roles and discontinues violence in households. Scripture condemns violence in relationships, emphasizing understanding and honor. A big thing that is needed to reach the goal of all women being safe and happy is the charism of hope. If people lose hope, no one will ever see positive change in women's treatment.
Unfortunately, violence against women is supported by several norms in society. Through our research, we found that women are often not taken seriously when they speak up about abuse, which takes power away from the victims and prevents others from responding to violence. Additionally, cultural standards in many countries encourage and even mandate violence against women. For example, in Nepal, perceptions that prevailing social norms endorse male dominance, value family honor, and accept violence are related to women's experiences. And in Mexico, over 25% of women say that violence belongs in the family, making them more likely to experience violence and less likely to report it. Violence against women is also a systemic issue, as it is reinforced by several flawed institutions. For example, injustices in foster care often force kids to choose between being abused and having a bright future. Despite an average of 40% of Americans receiving a college degree, less than 10% of American foster children do, putting them at a steep disadvantage in life. Another example is the lack of welfare in the US, since even its largest welfare payments do not cover everything one needs to survive. This forces victims to rely on their abusers or find a career, and abusers can use both situations to gain control over their victims. Beyond our research, we also learned about this topic through our interviews. We interviewed two workers in women's shelters, Tammy and Christina, who both had experience with this issue and a lot to share with us. Tammy has worked at a shelter for almost 2 decades and mentioned how mentally difficult the job can be. This challenged my assumption that abuse only affects the victim, since it can take a toll on anyone involved in the situation. Tammy also mentioned that childhood trauma is a major cause of violence against women, because it leads women to associate abuse with love and seek it out as adults. And in our second interview, Christina mentioned that many abusers control their victims financially, either through giving them allowances or forcing them to share their bank accounts. Overall, these interviews were very informative and helped us to appreciate the work being done to address violence against women.
While conducting interviews and citing research, our group felt a missing aspect in our involvement with violence against women. After talking to Tammy and Christina, we had all the information needed to truly embrace the social injustice of violence against women. Even though we felt a connection to this topic, we wanted to connect and truly embrace the meaning of this certain injustice. Therefore, we got into contact with a women's shelter. This specific women's shelter is called Women's Safe. This organization provides housing, tutors, therapy, resources, and money to the women in need. As a group, we decided to go to this women's shelter and see how they operate and help with their certain needs. While at Women's Safe, we visited Rose Closet, a donation site connected to the home. Women's Safe relies on donations of clothing and money to operate. While at Rose Closet, we worked with a member of their donations team. She taught us the history of Women's Safe and the importance of donations. She enlightened us about the impact of our volunteer efforts on the organization, as well as the significance of providing new clothing to families in need. For our service opportunity, we organized, folded, and put away clothes ready to be sent out to these families. Overall, our mission in the shelter was to help out as many families as possible. This brought up the question, what's next? When answering this, we need to expand our thoughts globally. As of right now, our focus is in helping those in Cleveland, the Ohio region, but this injustice is so much more. What can we do to get the world better? This unanswered question leaves us with thoughts on what's the difference between charity and justice. To define charity is the volunteer giving of help, typically in the form of money and resources, to those in need. While charity is a good and effective, justice is more of a long-term solution. Justice is a concept of moral rightness based on ethics, rationality, law, natural law, religion, or equality. Thus, solving the social injustices of violence against women, we can give a permanent solution to this problem.
Women take the brunt of males' emotions, whether it's about natural disasters in their community, personal pleasure, or emotional insecurity. Women should be treated with human dignity, and society needs to pick up their cross and fight the battle with all of the abused women. This injustice can still be solved if society puts a stop to it, but that takes every person to make that choice to stand up for what is right. This issue will always have an important place in our hearts. We will continue to try and fix this injustice in any way we can. Using the Praxis cycle as a model, we are taking action by volunteering at Women's Safe and Laura's Home Shelter. As a group, we will start trying to make a difference to help women be able to live freely without the possibility of abuse. Regarding the overall experience, we have been changed the most by correcting several beliefs we had and giving us much more empathy towards victims of violence, especially women. In the future, we will try to be more aware of when abuse may be occurring, as well as fighting other injustices that contribute to the violence against women. This issue may be difficult to spot and address, but we will all now see how much is at stake when it is ignored. And thus, and fully willing to make sure it is acknowledged with both charity and justice. And the articles mentioned in this essay are proof to be exactly what is going on and how violence is breaking out, hopefully being able to find a way to shorten or make it less likely to occur in women around the world. The efforts from everyone hearing about this epidemic and the ones suffering from it will need to be needed greatly if this has any chance of slowing down or even stopping, to make sure women all around the world don't have to worry about getting abused or violated in any way. Women should be able to speak and do as men do and have the power that men have, so why can't women? It is crucial that humanity puts an end to domestic violence so that abused victims can find safety and comfort. This abuse can also cause them to have no stability in their life and affects their kids' life as well. Thanks to places like Laura's Home and the Greenhouse, which makes life a little easier for these women and gives them hope for their future, we owe it to them and to each other to help others out of these situations and set standards of treating each other right, specifically women, as we are meant to be treated. There are many ways to help out. One includes helping those in need that you know to speak up. If you don't know anyone, volunteer to help out with these recovering victims and speaking to them or simply donating resources that can help the recovery process.
Even small changes can lead to bigger ones, more effective solutions.